I feel like I literally say this almost every single episode, but I'm going to say it again. We are talking today about one of my favorite topics, and that topic is automation. I am joined today by my friend Ines from The Modern Dog Trainer. You may have already heard of her if you are in the dog training world. She actually was a collaborator on our dog trainer website template. I talked with her to make sure that we were making this template as efficiently and amazingly as possible for our dog trainers. So she is a part of that. So you may have heard of her from there too. But she is a fabulous business coach and also an automation strategist and has an amazing automation service that she'll talk about more in this episode. In today's episode, we really get into automation, what it is, why it's important, and honestly, some of the biggest objections and resistance that we hear when it comes to automation. So things like robotifying your business, any mindset shifts that you need to resolve of like client touch points and how this actually can help your business. What's the possibility on the other side? Like, there's so much when it comes to automation, and I really don't think there's anything in business that does not get better when it comes to actually implementing automations. Like when it comes to your website, what can you automate? When it comes to marketing, what can you automate? Onboarding, offboarding, which I just want to give a little disclaimer. When we get to the end of this episode, it seems like we're going to wrap up the episode, but then she hits us with amazing stuff that we should have talked about on the episode. So the episode continues on. So when we ask our wrap-up question, keep listening because we still get into some amazing gold that is so important and almost just as important as the actual conversation that we had. So keep listening all the way to the end. This is such a fun and efficient and amazing conversation with Ines. You're going to love it. Welcome, Petpreneur, to the Pet Marketing Unleashed podcast. I'm your host, Michaela Vargas, founder, designer, and educator behind Pet Marketing Unleashed. This podcast is all about growing your pet business without the stress. Here, you'll find episodes packed with actionable tips and advice for streamlining your online presence, avoiding burnout, and onboarding new clients while you're away from your desk or out with the dogs. So pop in those earbuds and learn stress-free marketing and website strategies with me while you head out on your next dog walk, pet sitting visit, drive to your next session, or just wherever your pet business takes you next. Let's dive in. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. For those who may not be familiar with you, I would love to know a little bit more about you, how you started your business, and what led to the Modern Dog Trainer.
Oh my goodness. I'll try and keep it short. So right now I am the 2025 chair of the Association for Professional Dog Training. But that's kind of where I am now. I would love to go back to where I started, which is essentially blogging about my own dog training journey and becoming a trainer, learning the different methodologies and sharing that story online for others to engage in and participate in. And it grew an audience of other trainers. And I happened to be very good at digital marketing. And so I ended up helping a lot of trainers with their marketing over the years. And it led me to realize that there's really, back when I started the Modern Dog Trainer in 2014, there really was not an online resource where trainers could go to learn about the business side of training, which is often the most challenging part. But yeah, so then I kind of started the Modern Dog Trainer really showcasing the best practices of like running group classes or, what to put on a business card, all of those fun things that, you kind of wonder when you're getting started and really you can't find that information anywhere. So at least back in 2014 before AI.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't realize you started it more as like a blog.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Yes, I blogged. I was actually my first conference was an APDT conference in 2014. So I've been along for the ride with them for a while, but I got to have like a media pass and blog about my experience there.
How cool. It's like full circle.
Yes, it really is. It really is. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So today we're focusing in on automation, which I'm so excited about because I love automation so much. So I'm curious before we actually get into the like tangibles of automation, like what inspired you to focus in on it?
Yeah. So, after like, I don't even know how many years of coaching and consulting professional dog trainers across the world. I have a very large following now of trainers that are either becoming trainers or are established trainers. And so I kind of consult them on their businesses from, start to very well-scaled businesses. And what has been a common theme across all of them is technology is not their strong suit. And it is, for me, it is my strong suit. And so helping them really establish best practices within their businesses has been really, really important of part of their success. And so I want to go to the point where I'm not just talking about what they need to do. I'm actually just going in and doing it for them and saving them just so much time trying to figure it out themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we have like somewhat of like an overlap in the sense that, I mean, being a dog trainer is creative. I feel like website designer is creative, but like, I feel like we both have that like type A to it where we're like, how can we actually like make this work systems wise and technology wise?
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
So let's start with the basics of automation. What exactly even is it for a pet business and why is it such a game changer?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. You know, when you are bringing on new clients or managing existing clients, there's often a lot of paperwork, a lot of contracts, or at least one contract, and scheduling. And there's also things that you have to do from a marketing standpoint of just making sure people know that you exist and getting things posted online or managing your communications with past clients. There's lots of areas that are a manual effort for dog trainers or pet professionals in general. And I think that if we can reduce that manual workload, you're saving hours and hours of time every month. I've helped trainers, I'm going to say trainers a lot because I work with trainers, but it really does apply to just pet businesses in general. Like over 10 hours of work a week, we were able to eliminate with some automation. So I think that it's critical. And we know in this business, time is money, right? It's time away from your family. It's time away from your own pets. And it's time away from clients' pets every time you're having to spend time on the computer trying to send things around.
Yeah, and think about maybe even the ability to take on more in your business because you've saved this time with automation. Now you can take on another client.
Yes, exactly. That's the goal.
Yeah. So do you see common pain points or roadblocks, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to running a business and then, things that automation can actually help with?
Yeah. I see often, I would say the biggest area of opportunity is the way I'll position it is that I see a lot of people not maximizing their existing tools. So they are using really powerful tools and they're only using maybe 10% of their capacity in that platform. And then they maybe get distracted and go and look at other platforms. Oh, well, this one does this and this one does that. But they haven't really maximized what they're already using to the fullest of its extent. So I think that's probably one of the biggest areas that I've seen.
That's wild. It's funny because I think that is such a big thing. Like we think about like booking software, for example, like, okay, now somebody can book. And then like they kind of just like leave it there. It's like, well, what else can you really like automate? And there's so much power to being able to use these things. It's awesome.
It is.
So if you're a listener right now, you're just getting started with like thinking about automation, what are maybe like the top 3 areas where automation can have the biggest and most immediate impact?
Yeah. No, I would say number 1 is email marketing. It's not dead. I heard somebody literally just this week said that somebody had told them that email marketing was dead. No, it's not. And so make sure that you have an email marketing tool set up and that you have a sequence in that tool to welcome your new clients or new subscribers. If they're just looking at your blog or they are actually clients, really make sure that they are hearing from you on a regular basis. And it shouldn't require you sitting for an hour every day writing up a new email. It can be pre-scheduled on a certain, cadence. And it allows people that are just getting introduced to you to really learn more about you without your personal time. So it's a really great way to scale your connection building. Another area for opportunity is just onboarding new clients. The last thing you want to do is buy something and then wait around for a week to hear what's next. And I think that getting something set up where once somebody gives you money, certain sequence of events occurs and they know they have their next steps. They feel communicated with. They're not waiting on you to get home from a long day to send them something. They are immediately getting access to the next step. And it feels kind of like a win. Like, okay, I've made a step forward in my decision in the care of my dog. And, I have these next steps to do that are really clear and clean. And then a third area would be certainly setting up like social media chats. So there's a lot of different tools out there you can use to address inquiries that come into your private messages. to kind of guide people to the next step so that they can become a client without you having to spend a minute on social media. You have that sequence set up and implemented. And when somebody reaches out to you, again, they're not waiting around for you to finish up your busy workday to get to them. And then by then, maybe they found somebody else, right? So, yeah.
I feel like a lot of what you just said too kind of all boils back down to like communication, like prompt communication. I feel like it's such a big thing. And it's funny because as a like client on the client side of things, I feel like I've given this example before, but I remember this was back in 2019 and my husband and I we eloped and we were trying to find a photographer and it was kind of last minute. And we reached out to maybe like 5 different photographers. And the first one like had you can tell it was an automated responder, but it was like super cute and excited and like really fun. And then I think I got like maybe 2 other responses in the next couple of days, like it just like kind of trickled in. But I'm like, I've already moved forward with like this first person who was so excited. And I'm like, man, this is awesome. I got to see more of her work. Like I got to learn more of her process, like immediately, like she wasn't even there. It makes such a big impact.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It allows people to be further introduced to what you're doing and who you are and who you help without you having to personally develop and deliver that message every time.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk onboarding specifically. I'm a big believer in automation when it comes to onboarding.
Yes.
So how can automation enhance the client onboarding process?
Yeah. So we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but basically, when somebody becomes a new client, I'm assuming at this point, they've given you money of some sort for a service. And they're eagerly awaiting like the next steps. They want to know what to expect, when things are happening and what things are happening, who needs to be involved. Does the family need to be involved in like a consult or, there's going to be a lot of questions in their mind. So the more automation you can have there to really deliver a clean experience, the better, from even setting up reminders for when their vaccinations may be expiring, right, in your system, so that they can make sure to keep those updated because you're going to need those to provide your services. You don't want to have to be sitting there like manually checking every month when there's tools out there that can do that for you. So anything from keeping up with vaccination records to, getting the contract out in time for them to sign and review it, even, scheduling consults, like here are the next steps to schedule the consult and, what's going to happen during that consult. So yeah, all different parts of the onboarding process to make sure they're fully equipped with what to expect.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it's a lot of avoiding confusion, avoiding extra questions that don't need to be asked. Like it can be such a smooth. I feel like it can really make a difference for how the program's going to go too, like how the training's going to go, how the pet cares, like all of it. It sets them up well to know that, okay, this person's like got my back and is going to like take care of me and like do a really good job with, this is going to go really well. Like it sets everything up so nicely.
Yeah. And it kind of hints to like that there's a process, right? It's not just you scrambling on the back end. Oh, like where did I put that contract? What forms do I need to send them? Like they are going to feel so well taken care of and held through that process because things are automated. They're not, again, waiting a couple days for you to get back to them. It's not like a text message thread where, it's going to get lost and forgotten. So it's really about, I think automation is really about just creating a process first and foremost that then can just be streamlined with timers and action items.
I love that. Yeah. No, I love that. I feel like sometimes like we do kind of get excited and we're like, okay, like let's do all these automation things, but also like what's the process? Like you need to outline it first before you know what the heck what you can or what you want to even be able to do with like the functionality of these tools.
Exactly. And that's definitely part of my process is like we have to figure out what it is you want to accomplish through the automation first. I think people jump in like, oh, I want to automate that. I want to automate this. But I'm like, as a business coach, consultant, I want to know what is the end goal? Like, what are we trying to achieve through this experience, through this work, and then tie it back into what are all the steps we can possibly automate to make that happen?
Yeah. Yeah. Because like we said, okay, we want a really good client experience. But what about like maybe we want to save time? We want more like work-life balance. We want maybe higher profitability. So can we get into like how can automating certain tasks, like how does that contribute to more balance and higher profitability?
Yes. So, I'll go back to that saving 10 hours a week little snippet I shared earlier where trainers were sending homework assignments after a long day of lessons to each client. And ultimately, we found ways to either eliminate that work altogether. We found a smarter way to go about it, whether that was a client portal that they were just told, which lessons to go watch, or having a handbook that can be provided in person. And then at the end of the lesson, you're just circling X, Y, Z, go do these things. So there's different ways to streamline admin tasks that are valuable. They're still valuable, but they don't necessarily require your time every time. There's ways to kind of streamline that. So that's kind of one of the best ways, is just to make sure that you're not using your time outside of client time to provide more client value as much as possible. So you can take on more clients, or have more time off.
Yeah, for sure. So do you have certain tools or platforms that you typically recommend for maybe beginners who are just getting started with automation?
Yeah. So first and foremost, dive into your existing tools. I hate to send people to new tools and then they get so excited with the new tools and the new look and everything. But I'm like, as much as possible, stick with what you're already using, because it's something you're going to be familiar with. For me, I want you to spend your time making more sales, getting more clients, doing more marketing, rather than just diving into, some tech maze for a few days. So I really want you to make sure that you're looking at your existing tools first and foremost, and make sure you're utilizing those as much as possible, as thoroughly as possible. From there, one of my favorite platforms is called Zapier, and it kind of integrates everything. So you can go from Google Calendar to DocuSign to, anything else. So they have a lot of, just maybe thousands of platforms that they integrate with now. And I think that's a wonderful tool to kind of dip your toes in. Don't get too lost, but it's very simple and straightforward. And, you just connect X to Z and start there. Yeah, I wouldn't get too complicated and do 100 steps in one zap, but
that's what I got.
Yeah.
I was like, I maxed out my zaps. I love it so much. Yeah. It's a good one.
Yeah.
And that one too, just so for people listening, you can get started for free. Like if you set up very simple ones, I don't know how specific, if it's just like you can do one action, right? Like if somebody whatever, then you can do like a DocuSign, send a contract or whatever. Like you can do one action, I think, for free. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then you have the option to do paid, where you can do more advanced, which again, it's kind of one of those things too, when it comes to automation, is like, because I think people, like, when they think of tools, they have to add more tools or they have to pay for these tools. And it's like, okay, well, and I'm not saying it because I don't know how much it costs, but say it's $20 a month for Zapier, but like, it's going to save you 6 hours. Like that, like, how much is your time worth? Because you know what I mean? So it's funny. It is one of those things. I don't know if you come across this as well, when like you're in that process of trying to encourage to automate or get a new tool. And it's like, well, it's an extra $20 a month, but I'm like, you're saving way more than what that would cost you per hour. That like, it just makes financial sense to do it.
Yeah. And like we talked about earlier, like the for instance, the new client inquiries, if your automation immediately replies to somebody and they become a client, whereas before you weren't able to deliver that quick of a response, like that $20 a month pays for itself in one client easily.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, exactly. When you see more clients coming in, it's kind of incredible how much this works.
Yes. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to ask this question, because I feel like this is my biggest hesitancy whenever I bring up automation on my end with clients, is they think that when it comes to automation, they're going to like robotify their business, or they're going to like, because the pet industry is so personal, and they feel like they're going to lose that personal touch if they automate in their business. So can you touch on that, like, or address that?
Yes. I love it. No, this is absolutely a valid concern. Like you said, pets are personal. You never want a client to feel like they are just another number or another person that you work with. You want everybody to feel special. So there's several ways you can go about making sure that doesn't happen. One is really having a clear process that they need to take and making it clear like what their next steps are. And then the automation kind of just walks them through that process. And that communication is going to build trust. It's going to build or demonstrate professionalism. And they're going to feel like they are working with somebody that does this for a living. Like they're taking this job very seriously, which is kind of important when you're taking care of pets' lives. So, I think it does establish, especially nowadays, a sense of professionalism, then that your business is in order and you're doing things the proper way, and establishing your credibility like that. I also think that the way you go about it is important. There are things that you can do, like instead of a just text email, maybe you record a video, right? And you include that video in the email welcome series. It doesn't all have to be just a bunch of text that feels, impersonal. And then obviously the text you can personalize. You can make sure you capture people's names and insert those little features, the dog's name, the dog's birthday, requested pet sitting time or dog walking time within the contents of those emails automatically when you capture the information correctly.
Yeah. It's like when you do it properly, it actually can like enhance the client experience more than if you would have taken, the time, if you're doing everything manually, because you come out also across more professional, more organized.
Yes.
And so and you're not missing anything, right? Because a lot of times when you're doing things manually, like you might have forgotten to even do any of it. And then you're like, well, now this client's forgotten. It's especially as you grow. Yeah.
Yes. No, that's a great point. I think that, as you do grow and you're juggling more and more clients, you're more likely to forget to send somebody a contract or get their vaccination records or, things like that, and that are very, very important for your business. So I think that's another benefit to having automation set up is, that it will make sure you don't forget and that every client is handled the same way so that you don't have any issues.
Yeah, nothing's worse than like a client having to remind you what to do.
Yes.
Whoops. And I feel like there are a lot of ways to really personalize it and make it really special. Like on our end for like branding projects, for example, we have an automation in Zapier set up to like send them a Starbucks gift card that's like, here's some motivation to like do your, branding questionnaire.
Yes.
But it's set up automatically, but it's a really personal touch point that they love because it's like, this is all part of the process. It builds them up, gets them excited. Right. It outlines, all throughout the way. Like it can be so much more like personalized and
it, doing that kind of thing like really demonstrates the level of thought that you have into working with your clients and that level of attention, which can be rare, right? Like that, a lot of people get into taking care of pets and they're just, they're doing it for fun or it's kind of a side thing. But if somebody wants to hire a true professional and they, you want to make sure you're coming across as the best in your field, in the area, those are key pieces of things you need to be paying attention to and optimizing for.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times too, when you talk to people who are like really big on automation, like we're both really big on automation, that it means we have to take out absolutely everything. It's like, well, this can be customized to you, right? If you have like, if your business is like, I have to hop on a call with, or I have to do this like personal touch point, that's fine. You set up everything else to like work for you more so that you have the capacity and the reminders to even set up that personal touch in the first place. So it allows you to really just make it your own.
Yeah, exactly. You could have an automation that says, in 15 days, remind me to call this person or text this person and check in on their experience or check in on how they're doing. So it can be for yourself too, to make sure you don't forget things. Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice to just be able to take the thought out of your head to have to like remember even like little things like internal automations are almost just as important, right, as like the tasks that you need to do for the client.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. While we're on the topic of automation, if this episode has you thinking, all right, I want to make things easier around here, but I don't know what tools to use, I don't use any tools, you are not alone. We've put together a list of our very favorite tools and software for pet business owners, including CRMs, booking softwares, schedulers, email marketing platforms, and more to help you streamline and save time. We've even included exclusive discount codes and offers just for our community, so you can access all of that at petmarketingunleashed.com/tools. Or, of course, find the link in the show notes and we'll include all of the resources for you there as well. It's basically your one-stop shop to be able to see all of the time-saving goodness that we have for you, all of the software that we recommend for pet business owners. All right, let's get back to the episode. Okay, so when it comes to automations, we're starting to get things set up. Are there any common like mistakes or things to avoid when implementing automations?
I would say there's not any particular mistakes other than maybe having things go out at the wrong time or to the wrong people. There's a lot of details that you want to pay attention to when you're setting things up. Because again, like setting it up incorrectly can make you look disorganized. So it can have the opposite effect on, the way you want to be perceived through using these tools. So, it does take a level of care and attention to get things set up. And Then the other piece of it is sometimes, tech glitches. We love technology, but it also will let us down sometimes. So you want to pay attention to making sure your automation is working how you think it is. Do some test runs, have a friend go through it and give it a try, just to make sure there's nothing that's fallen through the cracks. And that's certainly where, somebody like me can come in and do all of that for you and make sure it's set up properly from the get-go and make sure it stays updated and current and doesn't stop working at some point.
I know. It's funny how you can set things up properly and then like for some reason, like 6 months down the road, it's like something happens and you're like,
there's been an update and now the tool needs a different thing. And yeah, you've got to reset up the tool or something in the platform. So yeah, it happens.
It's really good advice though to do like test runs. And I feel like not even before you do it, it's like maybe I don't know how often you recommend, maybe like every 6 months or something. Like you should like be running through it.
I would do honestly once a month. Like the worst thing you want to be doing is thinking like, oh, well, I haven't had any new clients this month or I haven't gotten any inquiries. And well, it's because your website form isn't working, right? Mm-hmm. Or your welcome email isn't sending. So you do want to keep an eye on it. And that's why I do offer like kind of like a maintenance, service to stay current and make sure things are updated and connected how they're supposed to be over time.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I was just gonna say, like, do you have like a checklist, like of things that you should be like running through almost of like making sure, because you don't know sometimes when things aren't working, right. And then how is this affecting your business?
Yeah, and I'm weird in that if I submit a form more than once on somebody's website and I notice it's like not going through, I will find their email and let them know because it hurts my heart.
Same. Yeah, I do the exact same thing. Yeah. And I feel like it's like fairly common, or like there's something that like blocks the form and you can't even like fill it out, or like yeah. I feel like that can happen so easily.
It does happen very often.
I feel like my like web designer brain, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just such a like that's so unfortunate when that happens.
Yes.
So if
it costs you a lot of money, right? You're losing on clients, and that's not just maybe that one service they were trying to book. It's the years of services they would have paid you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's wild. Okay. So if someone's feeling like a little overwhelmed, like, but wants to take one step forward towards automation, like this week, what is one step that you recommend that they do?
Oh, I like this question. It's going to depend on what platform you have. I would say, I am just a diehard like email marketing fan. I think it is absolutely critical to own the contact information of the people that are or will become your clients in the future. Unfortunately, social media is incredibly unpredictable, and so we really cannot rely on that platform or those platforms to continue staying in touch with people that like our stuff. So I would say set up some, one-page freebie in an email marketing platform if you don't already. I can literally do this in 30 minutes. So, it can take some people 3 hours or 3 days, but for me, it is a non-negotiable action item for all of the people that I work with. And it is absolutely critical for making sure you stay booked, not just now, but 3 years down the road. You want to stay in touch with people and let them know that you're still around and that you're, serving clients and offering this and that. And email marketing really is the best way to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Email is not dead. Email is not dead.
No.
So I would love to touch on this too. And it kind of goes back a little bit to like the robotifying or any other sort of like hesitations or resistance that comes up to automation. Because I feel like there is a lot of resistance whenever the word like automation is mentioned. Mm-hmm. Do you have any like mindset shifts that you think are important when it comes to like letting go of control a little bit, or like trusting systems to handle parts of your business?
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, I do work on mindset a lot with clients just because that can be really the number one thing that stops them from making the right moves in their business. And this is a prime example, right? Like even when we go back to the after lesson homework that gets sent out, people are very attached to delivering that level of service. And it takes a little bit of kind of working and talking through like, what else could you do with that time? And how could you use that time to serve your clients in an even better way? Maybe you can start use those 10 hours a week, start developing an online course and, grow your revenue that way. So think about how you can use that time in a way to grow your business, whether it's more marketing, maybe you go and do some podcast recordings, maybe you start your own podcast, right? It's just really an important piece for making sure your business is around in 5 years and that you're really developing this to be a business that's going to sustain the test of time. And I think that as you grow, it will become clear kind of when you really need to invest in some automation, and it's going to improve the client experience overall as well, like we've really touched on today.
True. It's like seeing the benefit as a result of doing it, of
Yes.
like what else you can do with that, how you can impress clients, like how it, it just improves everything, saves you time, saves you stress.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of letting go of that control.
Yeah. And you know what? It's not anything about like removing you from the equation. It's just, I see it as turning your one-on-one experience into something that's exponentially accessible. So you're going to then be able to communicate in a way like that's going to touch so many more people. It's still going to be you. You're the one writing the material that's in, the messages. You're the one that maybe will record a welcome video. You're still the face and the voice of the communication, but it's not you hitting the keys every time and hitting send and, all the admin work, like sending a contract, and that doesn't need to be you. Moving
well,
forward.
and a lot of times people don't even realize that it's not you. Because, you're
Right.
still writing the templates. Like, you're still writing the emails that get sent to them. So if it's like a post-visit or a post-training session or something, and like, when those dates are going to be, you get it all scheduled out, that can still be sent. It can still be the exact email that you would write.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of it being automated on the back end so that you're not forgetting it. You don't have to think about it. It's off your mental plate. Like, it just releases so much.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I would love to learn a little bit more about like your program exactly and like how you actually help people with automation.
Yeah. So I touched on it a little bit earlier, but basically, I work with people one-on-one. I create a plan first to make sure I understand what you're trying to accomplish, like where in your day are things taking time away from clients or time away from your family. What are the tasks that you do over and over and over that really don't need to be you doing them? And then when I draft up a plan, here are all the places and the tools that we can connect. And what are the things that we need to fill in, right? Like either you can write your own words, your own copy, or I can do some copywriting for you. It's going to depend on who you are and what you want my help with. And then we put the whole plan together. Everything's written, and then I start setting things up and doing that testing for you. So, I can I log into all of your tools and just get the connection set up and do the testing, and then you're ready to rock and roll. And then I do have kind of that maintenance plan on the back end, just to make sure, if something breaks, you can give me a call. If something needs to be updated or, you want to add something, we can absolutely include that.
Yeah. And as a fellow like tech person, and if you're listening to this and you decide you want to work with her on the automation, I highly recommend doing the maintenance, because I feel like that's so important, because things can just break, and it's like, even if it was set up properly, like you just like, it's always good to like go and make sure that that's like done. Do you have certain tools that you will only work with, or will you work with whatever tools that you already are using?
I've been in the online space for like 15 years. I don't even know at this point. So I can use pretty much any tool. And if I haven't used it yet, I can learn it in about 5 minutes, because they're all very, very similar. I've used everything from HubSpot to MailChimp to Dubsado to ActiveCampaign. I'm familiar, or I've built my own websites on WordPress and Wix and Weebly. Yeah, so there's a whole long list of platforms I can work with on the webpage. But yeah, basically, I can figure it out in no time.
Awesome. That's so cool. Okay, where can listeners learn more about you and your automation service?
Yeah. So I would just go to themoderndogtrainer.net, and you can learn all about me there, as well as my effortless automation services.
Awesome. I love that name, Effortless Automation.
Yes.
Before we wrap up, is there anything else that you want to share regarding automation? Any final tips or anything that you think would be beneficial for our listeners to know?
Oh man, we've covered a lot already. I would just say, don't be scared of it. Clients are used to it. Every business is using it now. It's not something that looks out of the ordinary. So, there are places for you to maintain your personal touch, but there are absolutely many areas that we can streamline and systematize and automate so that you're saving your time and having more time to be a business owner or, a mom.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love that. That's such good advice. So before we end every episode, I always love to ask our guests, what is one mindful practice or tip that you do in your own life that you recommend?
Oh, man. I've been very bad about it lately, but I do think journaling and just writing down your thoughts, your vision, your challenges, kind of your beliefs, like really going through like what's the worst that can happen and then what's the best that can happen. Those kinds of things, and actually writing it down every day is a game changer. The other thing I've been doing lately is working out.
That movement, it really does.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Oh,
so, but more specifically, not just cardio, really not cardio, but lifting weights and making sure that my body is strong so that I can, keep living life.
Yeah. It's so funny because it's so hard to get started. Like whenever I have periods where I don't work out or I don't move.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to get started. And my husband, he's very encouraging because he's very into like working out and stuff.
Yeah.
And I do it afterwards. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, I get it. Like, I know, because it does feel so good. Like afterwards, like regardless of how like, and I don't do a lot like very like painful workouts or anything. Like I'm not into like cardio or HIIT or anything like that. But like even if I do anything, if I stretch or like anything for like 10 or 15 minutes and I'm like, oh, like I feel better. Like,
you hate it when the husbands are right.
I know, because they're rarely right,
Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah, mine, I'm very proud of him. He's lost over 50 pounds in the last 2 years. And so he's now big into, building the muscles.
Nice. So, that's awesome. See, that's good motivation.
Yeah, he's
too.
constantly pushing it.
All right. Yeah. It's nice when you have partners or friends or whatever that are like doing that too, because it gets you like going.
And he made me my like lift workout schedule. So yeah, he's
nice. There you go.
Like that. Yeah.
Go. That's awesome. I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure talking through this. I feel like automation is something I love to like nerd out about and like talk about and address, because I feel like there's so many resistance blocks that we kind of addressed today that I think will be really helpful for our listeners to like be able to save so much time and like understand how this could really improve their client process and boost their business, allow them to take on more clients, get more clients, get more conversions, all the things.
Yeah. And that reminds me, like we talked a lot about like getting new clients, marketing, getting them into your system and onboarding them, but you can have just as many automations for offboarding. Like at the end of a client experience, like, are you sending a reminder for that testimonial?
Yeah, that's such a good point. We should talk. We should talk offboarding.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit? Like what would be an offboard? Like what would be? I know you said about testimonials, but like how does all of that work for offboarding?
Yeah, I mean anything from just a thank you letter. There are tools out there that will send paper mail to clients' homes. And, I think that you can definitely set up reminders like, hey, we loved working with you. Is there a friend locally that might be looking for a pet sitter this fall? Is there, somebody else in your neighborhood that would love dog walking as well? And we can do a combination rate or something, like having that automation set up that's just going to go out. And so you don't have to go over. I know for me, like that's something I've always been scared to ask for. Right. And so if you just set it up to just go out automatically, then you don't have to overcome that fear every time. And then obviously, asking for a Google testimonial and anything like that can really be helpful in making sure that you're capturing as much as you can from that client, not just financially, but obviously, capturing what was their experience like and, would they recommend it to somebody else? If yes, like what would get somebody off the fence to working with you? What would you say to somebody to get them off the fence to work with you? And then if they didn't have a great experience, like let's learn from that. That's all it is. That's something I've learned in business is anything negative is really just information and data and for you to do better next time in some way. Don't take it too personally, whether it's making sure you don't take that type of client again or improving your own system so that, you can really address those issues.
Okay, you brought up so many things. I'm so glad this episode. No, I'm so glad this episode didn't end. That was a false end, you guys. Because
I do that.
Okay, no, I think this is wonderful because offboarding is probably just as important as onboarding. So I'm really glad you brought that up. I also love that you brought up the fear sometimes of like asking for either more business or referrals or
Yes.
whatever it is, like I resonate with that a lot, and something that with automations, you don't have to think about it. And that's even for like enforcing cancellation policies and like all that stuff. When it's automated, you don't have to stress about being the one sending it because it's already just kind of set, and it can kind of come from the business.
Yes.
So I love that you brought that up. And then the last thing is improvements, that you set up these automations, but they can always be improving. Like I feel like you just brought up 3 super important things that I feel like are so crucial, because it isn't like a set it and forget it either. I mean, it's the same with website design, and it is such learning opportunities. And I think that's the biggest thing as business owners is like any sort of negative experience is the opportunity to be like, okay, where can I adjust my automations next time? Where can I adjust my systems so that this can not happen again?
Yes, exactly.
I'm so glad that you brought all of that up. I'm like, it's so important. I think that is when you talk about like resistance and stuff, or setting boundaries, or because a lot of times automation comes in place with like burnout and boundaries, right? Like you want to avoid those things.
Yeah.
And one of those is being able to enforce your policies as a result. But when it's set up and automated, you don't have to necessarily stress about being the one sending it, because it can come from the business. It doesn't have to necessarily be like you writing that out or saying it over the phone or.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, being, the business coach consultant that I am, I'm always thinking of ways to make sure you're making more money. And, what kind of just came to mind is, let's say you're running a group class that's 6 weeks long, whatever that might be. What's to say that like at the end of that session, or maybe even right before the last session, you send an email saying, check out our next round of classes, make sure you're seeing, the latest, or now's the time to sign up before we open it up to the public for enrollment. So there's definitely end of services opportunities to make sure you get people to come back and sign up for more work.
Yeah, that was something I was also going to mention when we brought up the offboarding, as well as like the whole like 80-20 rule, and how like 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your clients, and how it's such a missed opportunity to not go back to who your current clients are, who you've worked with in the past, versus trying to always be constantly getting new clients and onboarding new clients. It's how can you actually use your automations to get these people to come back?
Yeah. And that's why I think email marketing is really important, because you have to, set things up with the assumption that people want to hear from you. They have requested more information in some way from your website, from your social media. So now you have to operate, under the mindset that they want to hear from you. And, if you, by some reason, end up sending like, quote unquote, too many messages, then they're not the right people for you, right? And then they're not going to be your ideal clients. And your ideal clients really love hearing from you. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I love that mindset shift too, because I think that is a big resistance when it comes to like email
like
marketing.
over messaging.
Like do one of these people, like, but it's like if they gave you their information to be on this email list, then they want to hear from you. And if they don't, then they will unsubscribe.
Yes.
So
exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm so glad we talked about those things.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and I'm so glad we got to talk through all of these things. I'll have all of the links for everybody in the show notes as well. And then we'll have a full blog post going into all more of the details and examples and all of that fun stuff, so you can learn more about her program. But thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening all the way to the end. I appreciate you being here, and if you enjoyed this episode, which I think you did because you're still here with me, then I want to invite you to check out our website templates over at petmarketingunleashed.com/shop. As a podcast listener, I know you're serious about taking your pet business to the next level, and your website is a crucial piece to making that happen. After all, your website is more than a digital business card. It's your virtual assistant, your marketing person, your booking manager, and it should be working for you around the clock, bringing in clients, saving you time, and growing your business. Our Pet Marketing Unleashed website templates are not just pretty. They're also strategically designed for your type of business, built with search rankings in mind, and are truly easy to customize so you can launch a successful website and streamline your operations. You'll also get access to our signature course that shows you how to write website copy like a pro, do foundational SEO, and set up your tech. So with a few clicks to customize, you have absolutely everything you need for a website that stands out from the pack. And as a thank you for being a loyal podcast listener, you can use the code PMUPodcast at checkout to get 10% off your website template. Again, that's PMUPodcast for 10% off your template. If you're ready to elevate your website and make it work as hard as you do, head over to petmarketingunleashed.com/shop and explore all our templates. Also, if you love this episode, sharing it with a fellow preppreneur or leaving a review and rating is a great way to support this podcast and keep it running. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll be back soon with a new episode.